Welcome to JSC's Flying. Apple just released macOS 14.5, and that's the reason all these unsupported Macs behind me are updating right now. So let's find out if your unsupported Mac is safe to update to the latest macOS. So with a new release of macOS, there's always one question: does it run on your unsupported Mac? And that's what this video is all about, and that's the reason why all these unsupported Macs behind me are just updating right now. But first, let's talk about some things before we go into the details. At first, if you haven't yet, I would recommend you subscribe my channel and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any updates. Second, I would really love to invite you to our Discord community. There are nearly 2,000 members already, helping each other, discussing very specific problems and solutions that I cannot talk about in my videos because it's so specific, and that is such a great community. Thank you so much for all of you who already are on that Discord server. But now let's talk about macOS 14.5. Just released by Apple, and there is one noticeable thing: there is no new OpenCore Legacy Patcher. It's still version 1.4.3 from end of March, and if you look into the changelog, that is already 2 weeks old, and there are only basic admin changes. Okay, they just fixed the bug where NVIDIA drivers are not deleted when you revert root patches and so on and so on, but there's nothing mentioned about a new macOS version. So that's why this video is so interesting, because I'm now installing macOS 14.5, or better, I'm updating 14.4.1 to 14.5 as with any regular Mac with the system settings, but I'm still using OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.3 that has the OpenCore 099 included. As you see here, the MacBook Pro 2012 is already in the update process, same as the iMac 2017. And that is the range I'd like to present. Okay, starting in 2012 up until 2017, the latest unsupported Mac model. And as I always say, I don't recommend Mac models older than 2012 for macOS Sonoma or Ventura. There are so many hiccups, features that are not working, and maybe the Mac Pro, the cheese grater, is a bit out of the line because you can update it, you can upgrade the graphics card and the USB and everything. That's a little bit different story, but all other Macs I personally don't recommend when they are older than 2012 to update to Sonoma or Ventura. But right now I'm updating all my Macs, and we can go through the details starting in 2012 up until 2017. And there's one more thing before we dive into it. The MacBook Pros here, 2015 and 16, when you're using the USB method, they had problems in the last stage of updates. And that's another hint: if your unsupported Mac has problems updating or is stuck after an update either of OpenCore or of macOS. Okay, here is one video that explains the safe mode and how you can overcome that stuck boot bar and maybe get into macOS again. But now, enough talking, let's dive into the specifics so you can find out if your unsupported Mac model is safe to update to macOS 14.5. So good news, the first one who's ready is obviously the fastest one and the newest one, the iMac 2017. And I just did the update as with any supported Mac, okay? Just go to System Settings, it found an update, I say Update, and then it downloads the complete installer file. Don't worry, unsupported Macs always have to download the complete installer, around 12 GB, because the incremental update doesn't work on unsupported Macs. After the download and the install, it took about 40-45 minutes. It just greets me again with the welcome screen of macOS Sonoma 14.5, but as it says here, OpenCore Legacy Patcher has detected I'm running without root patches, because, and that's another thing you already know maybe, after every update, after every macOS update, all the root patches are gone because the kernel is new and all the inserted drivers, the root patch drivers to make the old hardware run with a newer macOS that obviously doesn't have any official drivers for that, is gone. Okay, so you have to implement the old drivers again into the kernel. That's what the root patch does after every update. So if I now just click OK, it starts the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, asks for the password, and now it installs the root patches. Then it will do a restart, and then we'll see if everything works on the iMac 2017. So obviously we're starting with the newest iMac or the newest Mac model, going back to the old one, 2012. All right, the iMac has rebooted, and as you can see here, it is macOS Sonoma 14.5 installed. And let's just check some of the basic features. For instance, let's go to Safari and we can check if Apple's website just works, if there are any animation problems, something like that. As you can see here, the iPhone animation, titanium, yes, that works, and the video also plays. So there's no obvious problem with Safari and macOS Sonoma 14.5. We can check the weather app if the maps are working. That is one of the issues that some of the older Macs with older graphic cards have. So let's check the regular Maps app. There's Cupertino. You can just scroll out. You can use the satellite view. All text, all transparency is working. It's very smooth here. You can just zoom in and out. That is working very well. So maybe we choose Apple TV and check if a trailer is working, if there is hardware acceleration for the graphics. Let's just check maybe Monarch, and the trailer should just start. Okay, there's just a black screen in full screen, which is weird. Maybe that is due to my screen recording. Let me just stop the screen recording. Aha, okay. Now that I stopped the screen recording, you can see it here on this picture. It's working. And why is it not working with screen recording? Obviously because that's DRM content. You can just not copy it via screen recording to your hard disk or anything. That makes sense. So this is working also. There are no problems either in full screen or in window. And so with the very first quick test, you can say that the iMac 2017 has no problem with macOS 14.5. Let's see what the other Macs are doing. All right, let's talk about the other Macs. And the first one here is the Mac Pro 2013, the trash can. As I have used that Mac Pro to create some USB installers for those MacBook Pros, I have already downloaded the macOS 14.5 installer via the OpenCore Legacy Patcher. So I will just start the installer here from my Launchpad, okay? So as the Mac Pro is doing the update, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher just detected that we are doing an update, and it just states that there is a new KDK, a kernel debug kit for macOS 14.5. If you want to download it by yourself, the link is down in the video description. For all of you who say, what is a KDK? A KDK is just a part of Apple's developer kit that helps and enables the OpenCore Legacy Patcher to install graphic drivers. Okay, you need it. You need to have it installed because after the update, it is needed to install the root patch. But without root patch, there is no Wi-Fi and there is no internet, so you cannot download the KDK. So the OpenCore Legacy Patcher does a very smart thing. It just detects, okay, we are doing an update, and already downloads the new KDK and installs it, so it is offline available after the update, after the reboot, when there's no Wi-Fi. So we can just say OK, and it just downloads the KDK, installs it, and it has it available. The KDK, don't worry if that doesn't happen on your Mac model. The KDK is mostly required for AMD graphic cards. So the Mac Pro trash can here has very old AMD Fire Pro graphic cards. There the KDK is required. But if there is no KDK download, don't worry. In most of the cases, it's not required. So as the MacBook Pro 2016 is already updating, I'd like to show you how you do the USB method. Here is the USB drive in the MacBook Pro 2015, okay? If you open it up and you start it, you keep the Alt or Option key pressed. That brings up the Apple boot selector. And here, as there is already an unsupported macOS with OpenCore on that MacBook Pro, you need to select the USB OpenCore to boot from it. Okay, that's the one with the yellow external drive logos. Okay, if you now press Control, the logo changes into a circle, and that sets this as a standard boot option. Just hit return, and now OpenCore is loaded from the USB drive. And now there are two options. Macintosh HD, it would now just regularly boot your already installed macOS from the hard disk. In this case, it's 14.4.1. Or you go to install macOS Sonoma. That is the installer that is on the USB drive. Keep Control pressed to set it as standard boot option, hit return, and it will now boot the recovery menu of the macOS 14.5 installer from the USB drive. Okay, let's give it some time. It's about 2-3 minutes, depending on the speed of your USB drive. And then we can just select the macOS installer. Don't worry, if you install macOS Sonoma on a Mac that already has macOS on it, it is an update. Okay, you don't lose data, but always be prepared. Have a backup of your most important data if anything goes wrong. So right now you can see that the picture is quite small because that's a Retina display, but it doesn't have the correct display drivers in the installer anymore. Okay, we just choose install macOS Sonoma, hit continue, and then there is the installer. We hit continue, we wait for the legal stuff, agree to the terms, and then we just choose the internal hard disk as install location. But as I said, if you install it to a Mac that already has macOS, it's just an update. There it is. We say agree to the terms. We choose the Macintosh HD, the internal hard disk, say continue, and now it states 21 minutes remaining. Then there will be 2 or 3 reboots, and then it will greet us hopefully with the starting screen of macOS Sonoma. And now with those 2 MacBooks Pros, we will see if they get stuck during the last part of the setup or if they just run through. And so while the 2 MacBooks are updating via USB, those 2 MacBooks, MacBook Pro 2012 and MacBook Air 2013, are already done with updating. And as you can see, they greet us with a blank white screen and not with that nice background from macOS Sonoma. Why is that the case? Because the graphic drivers are not loaded anymore. They are not present anymore. As I said, with the update, all root patches are gone, and that is where the graphic drivers would have been. So they don't have any graphic acceleration. They are not able to show the background. So why did the iMac here have a background and the others don't? Because here the graphic card is from 2017 and it is still basic metal capable. So that graphic card of the iMac could already show the background, but those very old graphic cards cannot. No problem. The OpenCore Legacy Patcher just popped up and said with both of them, okay, I have detected you're running without root patches, you want to install the root patch. Absolutely, we do that, and then we have a reboot and see if those two are working. All right, after the root patch, after the reboot, both MacBooks just booted up into macOS Sonoma 14.5, have graphic acceleration, have Wi-Fi, and if we just look at the iPhone website of Apple, you can see the animations are working. Here, the weather app and the map of weather app do work. Load everything. There is no problem with transparency or anything like that that we had on some Mac models. So that all works very nice, very smooth. One thing I have to add, the MacBook Pro here from 2012 is an i7, so that's the higher CPU level of the MacBook Pro, and it does have an upgraded RAM of 8 GB. The MacBook Air here, 2013, has only 4 GB of RAM, and that is really edgy depending on what you're doing. Only recommendable if you only use it for very light work like browsing, listening to music or something like that. Other than that, this graphic acceleration works. No problems with updating those two MacBooks if you just do the regular update via system settings. And now let's check what the other two MacBooks that are updated via USB are doing. All right, all of them are hard working with update. Maybe you can hear the fans revving on the MacBook Pro, and up until now they all look as if they were going through. Okay, the Mac Pro 2013 just came up with about 9 minutes remaining. You can see that below the bar. The MacBook Pro 2016 says 15% completed, so it's already one stage further. And that is the stage I talked about where some MacBooks got stuck. Okay, they started with a bar and about 1/3 they stopped, and that was just before the text below the bar with a percentage appeared. So it seems that the MacBook Pro 2016 has no problem with USB updating, and the other two are still with about, what does this say, 19 minutes remaining, and this one has 8 minutes remaining. So let's see if it works out and if there's any help with the safe mode needed. Okay, the MacBook Pro 2016 is at 99%. You can't read that, but that's what it's saying below the progress bar. And so it's quite interesting if it will now greet us with the Sonoma start screen. As you can see, the MacBook Pro 2015 just restarted after it says some minutes are remaining. So let's check if it's also going through. Okay, it did the restart after it said about a few minutes remaining. Then now you can see the bar without any text progressing to about 1/3, and then there should be a text coming up that says, let me just tilt the screen a little bit more. There should be a text stating a percentage completed. Right now it has reached the 1/3 of the bar, and as you can see, the MacBook Pro 2016 did its final restart. So it's quite interesting what the different Macs are doing right now. And as you can see, the MacBook Pro 2016 just did a short flash of the screen. That was the loading of the graphic drivers, and it greets us with macOS Sonoma 14.5. But while the MacBook Pro 2015 here is booting and continuing installing, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher popped up on the MacBook Pro 2016. This time it's not saying you're running without root patches because they are already included as we did the update via USB. But it just says, okay, do you want to install OpenCore to your hard disk? Because you're now booted OpenCore from the USB drive. Basically, that's a good idea. In this case, we don't need that as we already had OpenCore on the disk, and there is no new OpenCore Legacy Patcher version. It's still 1.4.3, so we can just say, okay, we don't want to install that to the disk. We are good to go with that MacBook Pro 2016. But you may have noticed while I am talking that the MacBook Pro 2015 is stuck. The progress bar is just stuck for about 5 minutes and it's not progressing anymore. And that is what I was talking about, that in my opinion, that are the graphic drivers that now fail to initialize, and so there is no percentage appearing below the progress bar. This one's done, this one's booted, so let's stay with the MacBook Pro 2015 here. And there is the Mac Pro 2013, the trash can, that also greets us with an updated macOS, widescreen, no graphic acceleration. Obviously, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher popped up again. It's the same procedure. It says, okay, you're running without root patches. So let's start the root patches and reboot the Mac Pro. But let's get back to the MacBook Pro here. If that is stuck, first of all, you switch it off. Keep the power key pressed for about 5 seconds and it switches off. Right now, we boot it again with the Alt or Option key pressed and select the OpenCore from the USB drive. Okay, we switch it on, keep the Alt or Option key pressed, there's the Apple logo and there is the Apple boot selector. As you can see, the logo of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher with the yellow external drive logo is already pre-selected because we set it as standard boot option. So we select that, and now we have two boot options. Macintosh HD is a hard disk, okay? And install macOS Sonoma would be the installer on the USB drive, but we already did that. We just want macOS to finally boot. So we select Macintosh HD or whatever your hard disk name is and keep Shift pressed and now hit return. Keep Shift pressed until you see the bar. There is the progress bar. Now you can release Shift. And that activates safe mode. Safe mode helps because it does not load all the drivers. Okay, now you see the progress bar proceeding, and there the display changed, the graphic drivers are loaded, and there you can't read it, but I can read it. There is a 7% completed below the progress bar. That's all you need to do if you update via USB and your Mac gets stuck in the last phase. So as you can see, the Mac Pro 2013 is done with the root patching. We click reboot and that should bring us one step further to macOS 14.5 on the Mac Pro 2013, and then we can check if those Macs that are already done updating work with 14.5 or if there are any caveats. There is the Mac Pro 2013 up and booted, and obviously with the macOS Sonoma background, so the graphic acceleration seems to work. And the Mac Pro 2013, the old trash can, has one issue since macOS Ventura, because there the map kit requires metal capable graphics card, and you cannot upgrade that trash can with new graphic cards. So if you go into the Maps app, you can see that there are issues with the transparency of the text. By the way, the MacBook Pro rebooted again and it seems to go through right now. So if you can see here, all the text has white boxes around it. If you switch to the satellite picture, you can see the text all has black boxes around it. But good news, the MacBook Pro 2015 also just booted up. There are also all the graphic and Wi-Fi drivers loaded. So that's the good thing about the USB method. You are connected to the internet instantly. But OpenCore will now pop up and say, okay, you booted OpenCore from USB. You want to install it to the disk. You don't have to if it's already installed. There's no new version of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Basically, with new macOSs, there are new OpenCore Legacy Patcher versions, and then you obviously should update and install the latest OpenCore version to your disk. Alright, as it seems, all three of the Macs do work, besides the transparency issue with the Mac Pro 2013 that has been there since Ventura. But Apple TV runs, the Maps app runs, the website with the animations, for instance, of the iPhone work. And so, with a very quick test, all of my Macs seem to handle macOS 14.5 quite well. If you do the USB method, make sure not to panic, okay? If it's stuck, just switch it off and do the safe mode thing I just showed, or more details are here in my video. If the safe mode doesn't work, there's another thing you can do, that is the loading the last sealed snapshot. That's quite technical. Watch the video. If safe mode doesn't work, that might be helpful then. So the last but not least, there's one more thing, as Apple always say, is the cheese grater, the Mac Pro 2012, that's sitting below my desk, and I will update that right now, but I don't expect any issues there, as it has an updated graphics card from 2017. And let me just do that. We just forward a little bit in time and let's see if that works. So we're at the finish line. The Mac Pro 2012 has updated, rebooted, everything's fine. It's at the login screen, but you cannot enter a password. Why? Because the root patches are not installed yet, and that means Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are not working yet. Even though I have updated the Wi-Fi Bluetooth module already, and as I have upgraded the graphics card, this one has an RX 580 from 2017. That's the reason why we already see the Sonoma background, because the graphics card, like the iMac 2017, is already metal capable, and they do have some drivers for that. But as you can see, my wireless keyboard here and the wireless mouse are not connecting, as it doesn't have any Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. So right now we need to connect a USB keyboard that I have here to the Mac, and that's the reason why I do have a USB extension cable sitting here to not crawl below the desk all the time. Right now I can enter the password, and then OpenCore Legacy Patcher will pop up, say okay, no root patch, as with all the other Macs. Install the root patch, and when I have installed the root patch, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth should work again, and then my wireless keyboard and mouse should work again. So for the cheese grater, always have a USB keyboard and mouse available. So right now, there you can see the message. Okay, what about the root patch? Say okay, enter the password again. And right now you see there's only a white screen, so that is the moving wallpaper that also acts as a screensaver that is not working due to the missing graphic drivers. The root patch is AMC Legacy Polaris, modern, wireless and legacy USB 1.1, and that is the reason why there is no Bluetooth. So you say, okay, why is legacy USB 1.1 the reason that there is no Bluetooth? Because basic input-output devices like mouse and keyboard are handled via USB 1.1, and the Bluetooth is also connected and routed to the USB 1.1 controller. So right now it's installing the root patches, and as there is an AMD Radeon RX 580 graphics card in it, it also requires a KDK. It has downloaded the KDK as it realized that I updated the macOS. So right now it's offline, there's no Wi-Fi, and it has the KDK offline available. Installing everything with a root patch, and when it's done, let's do a reboot, and then the wireless keyboard and mouse should already work, and everything else as well. Alright, the Mac Pro is rebooting, there it is, and now I unplugged the USB keyboard. Let's check if the wireless keyboard is working and the mouse, and as you see, it is. So Wi-Fi, Bluetooth functionality is restored and everything should be fine. So bottom line, macOS 14.5 should work on all of your unsupported Macs if they are at least 2012 or younger. So I didn't had any problems, and in between the video I just tested some other features on the different Macs. I didn't find any flaws despite the Mac Pro 2013 trash can text issue in the map kit. And if you use the USB method, some MacBooks might hang during the last phase of the install. As I showed you, just use the safe mode, keep shift pressed, select the macOS, and that happened to my MacBooks since the last 3 or 4 macOS updates, okay? But the safe mode always worked. So hopefully I could help you with your decision if you should update your Mac. Always make a backup. There might be some things that won't work. Don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. Give me a like for that video if you appreciate my work here. Come by on Facebook or Instagram, and please do me a favor, share that video on all social media platforms that you are on, just to help me a little bit grow my channel and to spread the word for everyone that you can still use old Mac hardware with the latest Mac OS. See you soon. Bye bye.